Hello students, now let us start session 5 of module 3 wherein we will discuss very interesting points. The first topic what I am taking is sensors and actuators. So what we know till now is embedded system is one which used for controlling and monitoring, okay, so in a real world. For example, if embedded system is designed for monitoring purpose, there is no need for including an actuator in the system. For example, take a case of ECG machine. It is designed to monitor the heartbeat status of patient, and it cannot impose a control over the patient's heartbeat and its order. The sensor used here are the different electrode set connected to the body of the patient. The variation are captured and presented to the user through a visual display or printed chart. Now let us define what you mean by sensor and actuator. A sensor is a transducer. When I say transducer, it is one of the device, or you can say one of the element which convert one form of thing into another form. Okay, so here sensor is a transducer device that converts energy from one form to another for any measurement or control purpose. The actuator is a form of transducer device, mechanical or electrical, which convert signals to corresponding physical action, motion you can say. Actuator acts as an output device. The I/O subsystem of embedded system facilitates the interaction of the embedded system with the external world. So some of the I/O subsystem we will discuss. Most of them you already know about them. Again we will discuss on that. So first I/O subsystem is light emitting diode. In short, it is called LED. Is an important output device for visual indication in embedded system. LED can be used as an indicator for status of various signals or situations. Typical examples are indicating presence of power condition like device is on, battery is low, or charging of a battery for a battery operated handheld embedded devices. As we know from the ADE subject, LED is nothing but an diode, or we can say it is a PN junction diode. Whenever the LED is in forward bias mode, it will glow. Okay, this is known fact. Now second I/O subsystem is 7-segment LED display. Now about this one we discussed at stretch in the earlier subject, but again I will brief it out. What do you mean by this one? The 7-segment LED display is an output device for displaying alphanumeric characters. It contains 8 light emitting diode segments arranged in a special form. Out of the 8 LED segments, 7 are used for displaying alphanumeric characters and 1 is used for representing decimal point in a decimal number display. The LED segments are named A to G and the decimal point LED segment is named as DP. The LED segments A to G and DP should be lit according to the display numbers and characters. The 7-segment LED displays are available in two different configurations, namely common anode and common cathode. In common anode configuration, the anode of the 8 segments are connected commonly, whereas in common cathode configuration, the 8 LED segments share a common cathode line. The current flow through each of the LED segments should be limited to the maximum value supported by LED display unit. 7-segment LED display is a popular choice for low-cost embedded application like public telephone call monitoring device, point of sale terminals, etc. Next I/O subsystem is optocoupler. Optocoupler is a solid-state device to isolate two parts of circuit. Optocoupler combines LED and phototransistor in a single housing, or we can say package. In electronic circuits, an optocoupler is used for suppressing interference in data communication, circuit isolation, high voltage separation, simultaneous separation and signal intensification, etc. Next I/O subsystem is stepper motor. We are having some of the experiments to work on this stepper motor, and this part is very important with that perspective. A stepper motor is an electromechanical device which generates discrete displacement in response to DC electrical signals. It differs from normal DC motor in its operation. The DC motor produces continuous rotation on applying DC voltage, whereas a stepper motor produces discrete rotation in response to the DC voltage applied to it. Stepper motors are widely used in industrial embedded applications, consumer electronic products, and robotic control systems. The paper feed mechanism of printers what we use, they are also because of stepper motors. Based on coil winding arrangement, a two-phase stepper motor is classified into unipolar, bipolar. So unipolar stepper motor contains two windings per phase. The direction of rotation of stepper motor is controlled by changing the direction of current flow. Current in one direction flows through one coil and in the opposite direction flows through the other coil. It is easy to shift the direction of rotation by just switching the terminal to which the coils are connected. You can see the figure which illustrates the working of two-phase unipolar stepper motor. The coils are represented as A, B, C and D. Coil A and C carry current in opposite direction for phase 1. Similarly, B and D carry current in opposite direction for phase 2. A bipolar stepper motor contains single winding per phase. For reversing the motor rotation, current flow through windings is reserved dynamically. It requires complex circuitry for current flow reversal. The stator winding details for two-phase unipolar stepper motor is shown in the figure. The stepping of stepper motor can be implemented in different ways by changing sequence of activation of stator winding. The different stepping modes supported by stepper motor are something like full step. The table what you can see here, step 1, 2, 3, 4, wherein the condition of coil A, coil B, coil C and coil D can be observed in different columns. Then we have wave step. In wave step mode, only one phase is energized at time and each coil of phase is energized alternately. The coils A, B, C and D are energized in the order shown. Then half step. It uses combination of wave and full step. It has the highest torque and stability. The coil energizing sequence for half step again shown in the table. The rotation of stepper motor can be reversed by reversing the order in which the coil is energized. One more figure shows the interfacing of stepper motor through a driver circuit connected to the port pins of microcontroller. Next I/O subsystem is relay. It is an electromechanical device. In embedded application, the relay units acts as a dynamic path selector for signal and power. The relay unit contains a relay coil made up of insulated wire on a metal core and metal armature with one or more contacts. Relay works on electromagnetic principle. When a voltage is applied to the relay coil, current flows through the coil, which in turn generates magnetic field. The magnetic field attracts the armature core and moves the contact point. The movement of contact point changes the power signal flow path. Relays are available in different configuration as shown. Next I/O subsystem is piezo buzzer. It is a piezoelectric device for generating audio indication in embedded system application. A piezoelectric buzzer contains piezoelectric diaphragm which produces audible sound in response to the voltage applied to it. Piezoelectric buzzers are available in two types, self-driving and external driving. The self-driving circuit contains all the necessary components to generate sound at predefined tone. It will generate a tone on applying voltage. External driving piezo buzzer supports the generation of different tones. The tone can be varied by applying a variable pulse train to the piezoelectric buzzer. Next I/O subsystem is push button switch. It is an input device push button switch comes in two different configuration: push to make, push to break. In the push to make configuration, switch is normally open state and it makes a circuit contact when it pushed or pressed. In push to break configuration, the switch normally in the closed state and breaks the circuit contact when it is pushed or pressed. The push button stays in the closed or open state as long as it kept in the pushed state, and it breaks the circuit connection when it is released. Next is keyboard. It is an input device for user interfacing. If the number of keys required is very limited, push button switches can be used and they can be directly interfaced to the port pins for reading. The 16 keys are arranged in 4 column into 4 row matrix as shown. In matrix keyboard, the keys are arranged in matrix fashion. For detecting a key press, the keyboard uses scanning technique, which each row of the matrix is pulled low and columns are read, each reading the status of each column corresponding to the row. The row is pulled high and next row is pulled low and the status of columns are read. This process is repeated until scanning for all the rows are completed. When a row is pulled low and if a key connected to the row is pressed, reading the column to which the key is connected will give logic 0. Next I/O subsystem is programmable peripheral interface device, which are used for executing the I/O capabilities of processor or controller. Most of the controller provide very limited number of I/O and data ports, and at the time it may require more number of I/O ports than the one supported by controller. A programmable peripheral interface device expands the I/O capabilities of processor. The IC8255 is popular PPI device for 8-bit processor or controller. So I have executed many experiments on this 8255. Okay, you can search my YouTube channel. You find some of the experiments on this one. Okay, and detail about programming, you can see that one in microprocessor link of my blog. Next topic of today's discussion is communication interface. Communication interface is essential for communicating with various subsystems of embedded system and with external world. For an embedded product, the communication interface can be viewed in two different perspectives, namely device level communication interface and product level communication interface. The communication channel which interconnects the various components within an embedded product is referred as board level communication interface. Serial interfaces like I2C, SPI, UART, one-wire, etc. and parallel bus interface are examples of onboard communication interface. The product level communication interface is responsible for data transfer between the embedded system and other devices or modules. The external communication interface can be either a wide media or a wireless media, and it can be a serial or a parallel interface. Infrared, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, radio frequencies, GPRS, etc. are examples of wireless communication interface. RS-232, RS-422, RS-485, USB, Ethernet IEEE 1394 port, parallel port, CF2 interface, SDIO, PCM, CIA, etc. are example of wired interfaces. Now let us see in detail. First one, we will take onboard communication interfaces. Onboard communication interfaces to the different communication channel bus for interconnecting various integrated circuit. So let us discuss from the inter-integrated circuit. In short, it is called I2C bus. Is a synchronous bidirectional half duplex. What do you mean by half duplex? One directional communication at a given point of time. Two-wire serial interface bus. The concept of I2C bus was developed by Philips Semiconductors in early 1980s. The original intention of I2C was to provide an easy way of communication or connection between a microprocessor or a controller system and the peripheral chip in television sets. The I2C bus comprises of two bus lines, serial clock and serial data, SCL and SDA. SCL line is responsible for generating synchronization clock pulses, and SDA is responsible for transmitting the serial data across devices. Devices connected to the I2C bus can act as either master device or slave device. The master device is responsible for controlling the communication by initiating data transfer, sending data, and generating necessary synchronization clock pulse, whereas slave device wait for the commands from the master and respond upon receiving commands. Master and slave devices can act as either transmitter or receiver. I2C bus supports three different data rates. They are standard mode up to 100 kbps, fast mode up to 400 kbps, and high speed mode up to 3.4 mbps. Next onboard communication interface is serial peripheral interface bus. In short, it is called SPI bus. The SPI bus is a synchronous bidirectional full duplex 4-wire serial interface bus. The concept of SPI was introduced by Motorola. SPI is a single master multi-slave system. It is possible to have a system where more than one SPI device can be master, provided the condition only one master device is active at any given point of time is satisfied. SPI requires 4 signal lines for communication. They are MOSI, master out, slave in; MISO, master in, slave out; serial clock, slave select. When compared to I2C, SPI bus is most suitable for applications requiring transfer of data in streams. The only limitation is SPI doesn't support an acknowledgement mechanism. Next onboard communication interface is UART, Universal Asynchronous Receiver Transmitter. UART in short. Based data transmission is an asynchronous form of serial data transmission. UART based serial data transmission doesn't require a clock signal to synchronize the transmitting end and receiving end for transmission. Instead, it relies upon predefined agreement between the transmitting device and receiving device. The serial communication settings such as baud rate, number of bits per byte, parity, number of start bits and stop bit, flow control for both transmitter and receiver should be set as identical. For proper communication, the transmit line of sending device should be connected to the receiving line of receiving device as shown. Nowadays, most of the microcontrollers are available with integrated UART functionality, and they provide built-in instruction support for serial data transmission and reception. And we have one experiment on UART. Okay, so when we meet in lab, we will see this one. Next onboard communication interface is one-wire interface. Is an asynchronous half-duplex communication protocol developed by Maxim Dallas Semiconductor. It is also known as Dallas one-wire protocol. It makes use of only a single signal line, which is wire, called DQ for communication, and follows master-slave communication model. One of the key features of one-wire bus is that it allows power to send along the signal wire as well. The one-wire interface supports single master and one or more slave device on the bus. Next onboard communication interface is parallel interface. The onboard parallel interface is normally used for communicating with peripheral devices which are memory mapped to the host of the system. The host, processor or controller of embedded system contains a parallel bus, and device which supports parallel bus can directly connected to this bus system. The width of the parallel interface is determined by data bus width of host processor. It can be 4-bit, 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit or 64-bit, etc. The bus width supported by device should be the same as that of host processor. Parallel data communication offers the highest speed for data transfer. Next subtopic in communication interface is external communication interfaces. The external communication interfaces refer to different communication channel used by embedded system to communicate with external world. Let's see one by one. The first one is RS-232C and RS-485. So RS-232C, recommended standard number 232 revision C from Electronic Industry Association, is a legacy full duplex wide asynchronous serial communication interface. The RS-232 interface is developed by Electronic Industry Association (EIA) during the early 1960s. RS-232 extends the UART communication signal for external data communication. The RS-232 interface defines various handshaking and control signal for communication apart from the transmit and receive signal lines for data communication. RS-232 supports two different types of connectors, namely DB9 means 9-pin connector and DB25 means 25-pin connector as shown. RS-232 was the most popular communication interface during the olden days. The advent of other communication techniques like Bluetooth, USB, Firewire, etc. are pushing down RS-232 from the scenes. RS-232 supports only point-to-point communication and not suitable for multi-drop communication. It uses single-ended data transfer technique for signal transmission and thereby more susceptible to noise, and it greatly reduces the operating distance. Next external interface communication interface is USB, Universal Serial Bus, is a wide high-speed serial bus for data communication. The first version of USB 1.0 was released in 1995 and was created by USB core group members consisting of Intel, Microsoft, IBM, Compaq, Digital and Northern Telecom. The USB communication system follows star topology with a USB host at center and one or more USB peripheral devices connected to it. A USB host can support connection up to 127, including save peripherals devices and other USB hosts. USB transmits data in packet format. Each data packet has a standard format. The USB communication is a host initiated one. USB supports 4 different types of data transfers. Control transfer is used by USB system software to query, configure and issue commands to the USB device. Next is bulk transfer, is used for sending block of data to a device. Bulk transfer supports error checking and correction. Transferring data to printer is an example for bulk transfer. Isochronous data transfer is used for real-time data communication. In isochronous transfer, data is transmitted as streams in real time. Isochronous transfer doesn't support error checking and retransmission of data in case of any transmission loss. All streaming devices like audio devices and medical equipment for data collection make use of isochronous transfer. Next is interrupt transfer, is used for transferring small amount of data. Interrupt transfer mechanism makes use of polling technique to see whether the USB device has any data to send. The frequency of polling is determined by USB device and it varies from 1 to 255 milliseconds. Devices like mouse and keyboard, which transmits fewer amounts of data, uses interrupt transfer. Next external communication interface is IEEE 1394, that is Firewire. FireWire is a isochronous high-speed serial communication bus. It is known as High Performance Serial Bus (HPSB). The research on 1394 was started by Apple Inc. in 1985, and the standard for this was coined by IEEE. The implementation of it available from various players with different names. The Apple Inc. implementation of 1394 protocol is popularly known as FireWire. Link is the 1394 implementation from Sony Corporation, and Lynx is a implementation from Texas Instruments. Unlike USB interface, IEEE 1394 doesn't require a host for communicating between devices. Next external communication interface is infrared. Is a serial half duplex line of sight based wireless technology for data communication between devices. What do you mean by line of sight? Both transmitter and receiver must be visible to each other. That is called line of sight. It is used from olden days of communication, and you may be very familiar with it. The remote control of your TV, VCD player, etc. works on infrared data communication principle. Infrared communication technique uses infrared waves of the electromagnetic spectrum for transmitting the data. IRDA supports point-to-point and point-to-multi-point communication. Provide all devices involved in the communication are within the line of sight. The range of infrared is 10 cm to 1 meter. The range can be increased by increasing the transmitting power of IR device. The IR supports data rate ranging from 9600 bps to 16 mbps. Depending on the speed of data transmission, IR is classified into serial IR, medium IR, fast IR, very fast IR, and ultra fast IR. The infrared light emitting diode is the IR source for transmitter, and at the receiving end a photodiode acts as a receiver. Both transmitter and receiver unit will be present in each device supporting IRDA communication for bidirectional data transfer. Such IR units are known as transceiver, and so they contain either the transmitter or receiver unit. Infrared was a popular interface for file exchange and data transfer in low-cost devices. IRDA was the prominent communication channel in mobile phones before Bluetooth existence. Even now, most of the mobile phones device supports IRDA, like your Xiaomi. Next external communication interface is Bluetooth. Is a low-cost, low-power, short-range wireless technology for data and voice communication. Bluetooth was first proposed by Ericsson in 1994. Bluetooth operates at 2.4 GHz of the radio frequency spectrum and uses frequency hopping spread spectrum (FHSS) technique for communication. Literally, it supports data rate up to 1 Mbps and range of approximately 30 feet from data communication. Like IRDA, Bluetooth communication also has two essential parts: physical link part and protocol part. The physical link is responsible for physical transmission of data between devices supporting Bluetooth communication, and protocol part is responsible for defining rules for communication. Bluetooth supports point-to-point and point-to-multipoint wireless communication. Point-to-point communication follows master-slave relationship, and Bluetooth device can function as either master or slave. When a network is formed with one Bluetooth device as master and more than one device as slaves, it is called piconet. A piconet supports maximum number of 7 slaves devices. Bluetooth is the favorite choice for short-range data communication in handheld embedded devices. Bluetooth technology is very popular among cell phones users as they are easiest way of communication channel for transferring ringtones, music files, pictures, media files, etc. between neighboring Bluetooth enabled phones. Next external communication interface is Wi-Fi, which is a short form of wireless fidelity, is a popular wireless communication technique for network communication of devices. Wi-Fi follows IEEE 802.11 standard. Wi-Fi is intended for network communication and it supports internet protocol based communication. Wi-Fi based communication requires an intermediate agent called Wi-Fi router access point to manage communication. Wi-Fi router is responsible for restricting the access to network, assigning IP address to device on network, routing data packets to intended devices on network. Wi-Fi enabled devices contain a wireless adapter for transmitting and receiving data in the form of radio signals through an antenna. The hardware part of it's also known as Wi-Fi radio. Wi-Fi supports data rates ranging from 1 Mbps to 150 Mbps, and depending on the standard and access modulation method, depending on the type of antenna and usage location, Wi-Fi offers range of 100 to 300 feet. Next external communication interface is Zigbee. Zigbee is a low power, low cost wireless communication protocol based on IEEE 802.15.4 2006 standard. Zigbee is targeted for low power, low data rate and secure applications for wireless personal area networking. The Zigbee specification supports robust mesh network containing multiple nodes. This networking strategy makes the network reliable by permitting messages to travel through number of different paths to get from one node to another. Zigbee operates worldwide at unlicensed band of radio spectrum, mainly at 2.4 to 2.484 GHz, 902 to 928 MHz and 868 to 868 MHz. Zigbee supports an operating distance of up to 100 meters and a data rate of 20 to 250 kbps. Each Zigbee device falls under any one of the following category. The first category can be Zigbee coordinator or network coordinator. The Zigbee coordinator acts as root of the Zigbee network. The Zigbee coordinator is responsible for initiating the Zigbee network and it has capability to store information about the network. Next is Zigbee router, full function device, responsible for passing information from device to another device or another Zigbee router. Zigbee end device, reduced function device, end device containing Zigbee functionality for data communication. It can talk only with Zigbee router or Zigbee coordinator and does not have the capability to act as mediator for transmitting data from one device to another. Next external communication interface is GPRS, General Packet Radio Services. The General Packet Radio Service is a communication technique for transferring data over mobile communication network like GSM. The data is sent as packet in GPRS communication. The transmitting device splits the data into several related packets. At the receiving end, the data is reconstructed by combining received data packets. The GPR communication devices divides the channel into 8 time slots and transmit data over the available channel. The GPR supports Internet Protocol, Point-to-Point Protocol and X2.5 protocol for communication. The GPRS is mainly used by mobile-enabled embedded devices for data communication. The devices should be support the necessary GPRS hardware like GPRS modem and GPRS radio. To accomplish GPR-based communication, the carrier network also should have support for GPRS communication. GPRS is an old technology and is being replaced by new generation of data communication techniques like Edge, high-speed downlink, link packet access, HSTPA, etc. Nowadays we are using 4G. Okay, it's more advanced one, which offers higher bandwidth for communication. So our one more session may require to complete this model. Okay, So complete your summary and submit. Thank you.